I am my SISTAR's keeper for the woman suffering in silence until she is ready to tell her story. You do not owe anyone your story before you are ready. Until you find the words, there are SISTAR's willing to stand in the gap, speak light into the darkness, and remind you that silence does not erase your power. This is a powerful progression after episode 8. Remembrance now becomes sisterhood. Instead of asking another woman to disclose her wound, episode 9 explicitly gives her permission not to. While you use my own lived triumphs as evidence that another chapter can exist. Womb SiSTAR's. This episode is for the woman who has been listening to season 4 and thinking, I have a SHERO story too, but I'm not ready to tell it. I see you. Maybe you're still living through the chapter, maybe seeing it in the flesh. Say it out loud makes it too real, right? Maybe you've spent years protecting everyone else's reputation while quietly caring what happened to you. Maybe you've mastered the smile. You show up, you work, you mother, you lead, you serve, you laugh, and nobody knows what happens when the door closes. Today, I'm not asking you to tell us anything. You don't owe this microphone your wound. You don't owe social media your pain. You don't owe the world your testimony before you've had the space to understand your own story. So today, SISTAR, STAR, because you are a star. Each and every one of us is a unique star. You don't have to speak. I'll speak. Not for your specific experience, because only you know your story. But I will use my story, my scars, my survival, and my triumphs to remind you of what may still be possible for yours. Because today I am my SISTAR's keeper. And this episode is for her. Grand Rising Womb SISTAR's worldwide. Welcome to the SHENIXPWR podcast, the sacred space where women remember who they are, rise beyond survival, and reign in embodied sovereignty. I am your host, Honor Parrish, and today is different. You can still grab your journal, grab your pen, pour your water, tea, coffee, smoothie, or perhaps a glass of wine. But today, you don't have to write unless you're led to. You don't have to process. You don't have to explain. You don't even have to know what you're feeling. Today, in this moment, on this timeline, I'm simply asking you to receive. Just receive, sis. Because throughout season 4, we've witnessed courageous women share their SHERO stories through 4 sacred chapters: the woman, the wound, the wisdom, the legacy. But something has become increasingly clear to me. What about the woman who isn't ready? What about the SISTAR listening who has a story buried beneath years of silence? What about the woman who desperately needs to hear another woman say, you don't have to tell me what happened for me to stand beside you? That's who I'm speaking to today. Welcome to I Am My SISTAR's Keeper, Part 1. The woman we don't see. There's a woman somewhere listening right now and looks like she has it all together. And maybe she does. That's important because suffering doesn't make a woman weak, incapable, or incomplete. She may be brilliant, successful, creative, powerful. She may be the person everyone else calls when life falls apart. And still, there may be a chapter she has never spoken aloud. We have to stop believing that pain always has a particular face. Sometimes pain wears pajamas and can't get out of bed. And sometimes pain puts on lipstick and runs the meeting. Sometimes she believes so skilled at surviving that nobody realizes survival is exactly what she's doing. So, sis, I'm not going to ask you what happened to you. I'm going to ask something gentler. What do you need today? And if you don't know yet, that's okay. Part two. Your silence does not disqualify your story. There's something I want every woman listening right now, sacred moment on this timeline. You are allowed to have privacy. There is a difference between being silenced and choosing sacred silence until you're ready. SHENIXPWR will never require a woman to publicly expose her wounds to prove she has healed. You don't have to bleed publicly to demonstrate that you survived. You don't need a microphone. You don't need a stage. You don't need an Instagram caption explaining the worst thing that ever happened to you. And you certainly don't need to package your pain into something inspirational before you've had the opportunity to simply be. Your SHERO story belongs to you and only you. Maybe one day you'll share it. Maybe you'll share only pieces. Maybe you'll tell one trusted person. Maybe you'll write it and never publish it. And maybe your story will remain sacred and private. You still belong here. Part three. Until you can find your voice, borrow mine. And this is where I want to speak from my life. Because I know something about surviving chapters I didn't choose. I know something about rebuilding. I know something about watching life change in ways I never anticipated. I know something about having circumstances challenge my security, my identity, my confidence, and my understanding of who I thought I was. And I also know something else. I know what it means to still be here. I have lived long enough to discover that some of the chapters I once thought would destroy me became the very places from which I discovered my power. My battlefield scars became credentials. My survival became wisdom. My wisdom became advocacy. My voice became service, and my service became SHENIXPWR. I didn't arrive here because life spared me. I arrived here because somewhere along the journey, I stopped allowing what happened to me to have the final word about who I am. That doesn't mean every wound disappeared. It means the wound stopped being the author. I became the author again. Did you hear that? Did it resonate? Did it hit you in the womb? And sis, that's why I'm talking to you. Not because our stories are identical. They're not. Not because I know exactly how you feel. I don't. But because my existence can stand beside yours and say, another chapter is possible. Until you believe that for yourself, borrow my belief. Until you remember your strength, Let my triumph remind you that strength still exists. Until you can speak, sit beside my voice. I will not tell your story, but I can remind you that your story isn't over. Part 4. This is what sisterhood looks like. Being my SHERO keeper does not mean rescuing her. It does not mean forcing her to heal on my timeline. It does not mean demanding details because I'm curious. And it certainly does not mean, girl, you need to tell your story. You'll feel better. Absolutely not. Sometimes sisterhood looks like you don't have to explain. I believe you. I'm here. What do you need? Would you like me to sit with you? Do you want help finding support? And sometimes, sis, there are no words at all, just presence. Because perhaps one of the most sacred things one woman can communicate to another is, you don't have to perform strength with me. Part 5. Woman, wound, wisdom, legacy. Wound, SiSTAR. You know our 4 chapters, but today I want to reinterpret them for the woman who isn't ready to share. The woman. You existed before the wound. There is an identity beneath everything you survived. The wound. You don't owe us the details at all. Your boundary is sacred. The wisdom. You don't have to turn your pain into wisdom overnight. Sometimes today's wisdom is simply, I deserve support. The legacy. And your legacy does not require you to become famous for surviving. Maybe your legacy is breaking one cycle, raising one child differently, setting one boundary, choosing yourself, helping one woman, living peacefully, or simply becoming the first woman in your lineage who finally says, it ends with me. That counts. That matters. That is legacy. At this time, you already know the sacred pause. Close your eyes. Take in a cleansing and loving deep breath. And then let it out as slowly and deeply as possible. I pray that you're a little bit more relaxed and you're present and continue to receive. The sacred call to awakening. The SiSTAR's Keeper Pledge. Today, our call to awakening isn't primarily for the woman suffering in silence. It's for the rest of us. Because if I declare, I am my SiSTAR's keeper, then those words require something from me. So wound SiSTAR, swiftly place your right hand over your heart and your left hand over your wound and repeat after me. I will not require her pain as proof. I will not rush her revelation. I will not turn her vulnerability into conversation. I will listen without making her story about me. I will respect her silence. I will celebrate her voice when she finds it. I will remind her of her power when she forgets. I will stand beside her without standing over her. And when my SiSTAR cannot see the light, I will hold the lantern until she can. I am my SiSTAR's keeper. Sis, it's time to find her. This week, I want you to think of one woman. Not necessarily the woman you believe is struggling, just one woman you love. Send her a message. No interrogation, no assumptions, no fixing, simply SISTAR, spelled SISTAR. You crossed my heart today. You don't need to tell me anything. I simply want you to know I'm here and you matter to me. That's it, because we don't always know who is suffering in silence. And one genuine moment of human connection can remind someone, I am seen, I am valued, I am not walking alone. As we come to a sacred closing, and to the woman who needed this episode, I want the final words to belong to you, not your wound, not the person who hurt you, not the circumstance that changed you. You may not be ready to tell your story. That's okay. You may not even know what your story means yet. That's okay too. There is no deadline on your becoming, and there is no admission price for belonging to this sisterhood. So until you're ready, sit here, listen, receive, watch other women rise, borrow courage from our stories, borrow hope from our triumphs. And when you're ready, not when the world demands it, but when you decide, you make that executive decision, your voice will be waiting for you. And womb sis star, if that day comes and your voice trembles, let it tremble. A trembling voice is still a voice. A quiet woman is still powerful. A private story is still sacred. And a woman who hasn't shared her story is still a SHERO, sharing her empowering resilience openly. I am Honor Parrish. I have survived. I have rebuilt. I have risen, and I refuse to use my triumph merely as evidence of what I overcame. I will use it as evidence for another woman of what may still be possible. Because if my light only illuminates my own path, then I haven't finished the assignment. Womb sis star. Until you can hold the lantern yourself, I'll hold it with you. Because I am my SiSTAR's keeper. And this is SHENIXPWR. Remember who you are. Rise when you're ready. Reign in your own time. And until the next time, dismantle the tunnel, become the light. Much love. Peace.